Good evening, everyone. I am your host and instructor, Laney Shaughnessy, and welcome to Spindle TV, your best source for CNC CAD/CAM training videos. Spindle TV is brought to you by Digital Woodcarver, inspiring your creativity and providing you with the tools to create your own unique masterpieces. Welcome, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. I'm going to skip a few channels here and go with a black screen for a minute. Welcome, Mr. Dave Gatton, Kevin, Debbie, Roger. Hello, guys and gals. Hope y'all are doing well. Oh my, oh my. Hopefully tonight's class will be a little bit interesting. You know, when Vectric came out with version 9 and now 9.5 and everything, in version 9, I believe it was, it introduced component level mirroring and mirror mode for different component levels within our modeling tab of our software. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to explore that a little bit and see how we can take a variety of different models and make something, you know, unique or something different, something that we wouldn't normally have within our library of models in our software. Hello, Bob. Welcome. Yep. So I'm looking forward to you know, each weekend, for those of you that have been trying to get a hold of me on the weekends, I'm at the woodworking shows. So please definitely come out to the woodworking shows. Look for a woodworking show in your area near you. Come on out and see us. We're looking forward to seeing everybody this year. Next week we will be in Kansas City. How about those Chiefs, Debbie? We're going to be in Kansas City next week. And looking forward to that. Hopefully the weather cooperates with us. We have a good time. Welcome, Ron and Dave. We're going to get started here in about 15 minutes, but I figured I would just sit here in chat mode. If any of you guys and girls have any questions, or if you're just now new joining us here on Spindle TV, if you want to participate in the live chat, you must have a Google account to be able to participate in the live chat. Be signed in to your Google account, and that will allow you to participate in the live chat area. Yep. Yeah, Chuck, I made it safely to Boston. Weather was good in Boston. It was a little chilly, a little cold. I think it got down into the teens or something like that. I want to say 13, 12 or something like that one of the days it was, but no snow, so it's pretty good. Not too shabby. Mr. Dave, I'm glad you're Dave Gatton. I'm glad you're joining us. I hope things are going well over at CNC with Dave Gatton, your shows and everything. If y'all are new to and looking for different CNC channels and things like that on YouTube, definitely check out Dave Gatton's channel. Dave, if you want to throw a shout out about your channel in the chat room, do so for sure. CNC with Dave. I think, isn't that the channel, or is it Dave Gatton? It's CNC with Dave. I know that's your podcast, Dave Gatton, but let me know so I don't screw it up. Welcome, Ronald Sands and Ronnie. Everybody. I'm looking forward to this class, exploring the possibilities and the different things that you can do within the component level mirror mode is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to be showing the difference between Vectric VCarve Pro and desktop, and then Vectric Aspire. With Vectric Aspire, we have a little bit more opportunity to create new components and add to our library of models with the ability to be able to export model files and things from our live preview into creating a file from those. With Aspire, we have the ability to create some really unique things and save them and all. Yep. All right, Dave, got me a check in the mail. What's it going to be, like a little endorsement check? There you go. No, just kidding. But Ronnie, the next show is going to be in Kansas City. Then for you Florida folks, we're going to be in Florida after that. Tampa, Florida. But yes, Kansas City we will be in next week. And if you come out to the shows, you have a chance of winning a mini carver, DWC mini carver, 1824. We're giving one away at the end of the show season. Definitely stop by the booth, if not to say hi to Burl, Terry, or I. Definitely stop by to at least sign up and register for a chance to win a mini carver. Right. Welcome, Peter. Peter, talk a little bit about drill patterns on the desktop, just briefly. You're talking about like drilling operations, like with the drilling toolpath. Give me an example, or give me a little bit more information, Peter, and I'd be happy to talk about them. Are you talking specifically, just talk more about the drilling toolpath, or is there a specific drill pattern that I'm not aware of? Let me know just a little bit more information. I'd be happy to talk about it. Virginia, we will be in Chantilly, Virginia. Let's see what the schedule says here. TheWoodworkingShows.com for anybody interested in finding out where a show is near you. Chantilly, Virginia, we will be in, and that will be March 22nd through the 24th. So as the shows go, we're going to be in Kansas City next week, followed by Tampa, then Indianapolis, followed by St. Louis, Detroit, Milwaukee, New Jersey, Columbus, Ohio, Atlanta, Georgia, hometown of Dave, around the Atlanta area, Chantilly, and then most likely, possibly Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte is on the schedule. Still a little bit up in the air, but we'll know more. We'll have a more definite, solid answer on Charlotte. It's going to be a new show for us, and that'll be at the end of the year. All right. Welcome, Jeff, William, Peter. Yes, for 5mm holes for shelves. Yeah, we can talk about the drilling patterns and all. All right, so let's go ahead at 7:16. Let's go ahead and get away from my ugly mug here. And let's switch over to the Vectric software. Make sure everything's going well. Doo-dah. The dates for Indianapolis show will be in 2 weeks. February 1st through the 3rd. February 1st through the 3rd will be the Indy show. All right. So before we jump into modeling in our mirror mode components and everything, and component level mirror mode, let's quickly take a minute and talk to Peter, or answer Peter's question about our drilling operations. So now, depending on what you're working in, if you're working in inches or millimeter, Peter, for a 5mm hole, if I take my inches and multiply it by 25.4, or divide by 25.4, should I say, not multiply. That will give me millimeter. So if I wanted a, let's find out what that is. Let's see here, 5 millimeters times 25.4 equals, actually, that's wrong. We gotta divide, guys. We gotta divide. 5 divided by 25.4 equals. That's a little more than an eighth of an inch, or whatever the case may be. And so, you know, you got to know what the conversion is. 25.4 is your conversion from inches to millimeters. You know, whatever the case may be. So let's click apply. So on that 5 millimeter hole, depending on how many we are wanting to make, 25.4 is your magic number. Multiply or divide depending on which way you're going. In the case, if we're going from inches to millimeter, we multiply. Millimeters to inches, we divide. So on and so forth. You know, if we have whatever our hole pattern is, I don't know if there's a specific pattern, but lay it out however you want, Dave, or Peter. And then in your drilling tool path, you know, of course, set your cut depth. Your start depth is always going to be 0. Set your cut depth, and then your bit. Now, any end mill, you're going to be able to use whatever size. You definitely, if it's a drilling operation, you want a 5 millimeter drill bit, because the drilling operation is not like a pocket cut. So when that bit comes down, it's drilling a hole, just like a drill bit. It's drilling a hole. It's not moving around to make that hole bigger or smaller, or not smaller, but you know what I mean. It's not making it bigger. It's just drilling down. So if I'm using a 1/4 inch bit, not making a 5 millimeter hole. You know what I mean? So you need the appropriate sized bit for that. And then on your drilling operations, now you can use, you can do without pecking if you want. Now what that means is the bit is just going to drop, that Z is going to drop, and that bit is just going to bore out that hole, and it'll go down to whatever depth you specify. Utilizing pecking means that that bit's going to come down, come up, come back down a little more, come up, come back down a little more, so on and so forth. The retraction, if you use the retract above the cutting start depth, this is going to be our safe Z height. So if I have a safe Z height of 0.2, then it's going to retract up to that point for each drilling operation. And the pecking helps kind of pull that material up and out of the hole as it's drilling, and it's not so much wear and tear on your bit. I'm a fan of pecking, but again, you don't have to. Just understand when that bit goes and buries down, you know, without packing and everything, it's going to just bore that hole out. Now, we can also retract a certain height. If we don't want it raising all the way up out of the wood before starting its next pecking motion, then we can actually just retract a certain amount. We can have it just raise up a little bit above the previous cut and things, so we can specify a specific depth. Now, at the end of each of those passes, if we want that bit to kind of sit there and dwell, means stay at that area, kind of to clean out that bottom area, we can add that pause or dwell time, you know, in seconds. You know, if we want it to dwell a few seconds before raising or, you know, continuing, each time we can. And then if there's a certain drilling order or drilling pattern or direction we want to drill, whatever direction we select our vectors in, or whatever order, not direction, whatever order we select our vectors in, we can use that vector selection order to have it drill that pattern in that orientation. And then, of course, if we are working with 3D models and our 2D vectors and we're trying to drill holes, we must project those 2D holes onto the 3D model zero plane. So that's really about the only explanation I can give on drill patterns in the drilling toolpath. Peter, hopefully that kind of helps a little, but if not, and you want to get more specific on something, definitely let me know, and towards the end of the class we can do it. We can make it happen. Yeah, William, 1.19865. Yep. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, William, I'll let you know. They should have sent out emails to volunteers and things in the for the shows and stuff, and I will check and see um, which show, because I know you volunteered for a couple of them, and I think we have you at one of the shows, William Edlin. So we'll find out, and I'll let you know. All right, guys and girls, let's talk about component level modeling or mirroring, using the component level mirror mode while modeling to create some unique and different things. Now, let's get back out of the toolpath side and over to our drawing side, and let's understand what we're talking about here. When we have models, such as these three models I have showing just for display purposes and everything, when we have models or bring models into our software, whether we bring them in from our clip art gallery or we bring them in from a model that we've obtained from a friend, family, designandmake.com, eBay, Etsy, whatever the case may be, we can use our mirror mode to create unique and different things from that model. Now keep this in mind, boys and girls. Third-party models, STLs, OBJs, PRJs, .x's, and so on and so forth. Third-party files in Vectric VCarve Desktop and Vectric VCarve Pro. We can only work with one third-party file at a time. And with .feed3m or 3D clip art that comes from like Design and Make or from the Vectric gallery itself, we can bring in multiple models into a project. I'm in VCarve Pro, so I'm able to bring in multiple models from my clip art gallery. But if it was a third-party model file that we've obtained somewhere else and it was not a .v3m, then we would end up only being able to bring in one model at a time. Now we could still mirror that model to make multiple models out of it, but the whole fun of this is to be able to combine different models to come up with something new. Now, the models that I have displayed, we're going to take and we're going to turn those into a unique and different model, and we're going to bring in some other models and create some new things. But first of all, let's talk about mirror mode and what all that means. So let's go back to our 2D view, and what I'm going to do in my modeling here, my level, I'm going to turn off a couple of models, not all of them, but one of them. There we go. And when we look at our levels, as you'll see here, I have level 1, 2, 3, and level 4 is what I'm working in. We have the ability to, if we right click on this level, we can change the way one level combines with another. So if I have models on one level that I want to merge with other levels, or if I want to add them to other levels, I can change the way that they combine with one another. But one of the new things from 9 and 9.5 is mirroring, being able to mirror our levels and things. And so we have the ability to mirror our models from left to right, from right to left, top to bottom, bottom to top. We also have the ability to work with our quadrants. Imagine your board is broke up into 4 quadrants. We can work with anything in the top left quadrant will be mirrored along the other 3, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. So what does this mean for me? If I came over here and let's say that I brought this model about center, and I'm going to overlap my halfway line here, my center line a little bit. If I were to turn on mirror mode, let's say mirror mode left to right, meaning everything on the left side of my screen is going to mirror to the right. When I'm looking at my 2D view, we do not see that mirrored component that was created. However, if we switch to our 3D view, we would see that mirrored component that we've created. And when it mirrors a component, in this case from left to right, it automatically merges or blends the overlapping areas if I do have any overlapping areas. Now, of course, if my model were, let's say, way over here on the left, when it mirrors, it's going to mirror equal distance on the right. So if I split this view for a moment and we see as I move closer, you see that gap start to narrow itself as I get closer to that center line because I'm mirroring from left to right. And then we can ultimately, you know, start to blend these models together. Now the red is just showing you where that model that I have selected is in things. And so I'm going to just, instead of using my mouse, I'm going to use my arrow key and just kind of bump these over. And then if I deselect everything, you will be able to see where those overlaps are and how they blend from left to right. Now, of course, if I were to take that mirror mode and go from right to left, you could almost assume that's going to be the same thing, right? If I go to from top to bottom, then basically everything that's on the bottom of my board is going to mirror to the top. Now, in this case, that really doesn't look a whole lot different than the original model. That's because it's not. It's mirroring on itself. Now, of course, if I take and rotate this a little bit, let's slide this over here some. Let's back her down a little higher. Get on there. We can start to, that's a funky looking flower, right? Everything running along the bottom of my material, or what do I got there? What's my mirror mode? I am at top to bottom. Everything at the top of my board is mirroring to the bottom. So if I were to raise this up a little bit, then my mirror image and everything would start to blend. So let's bring this down, get rid of that meat that's at the bottom there. There we go. Oh, one little dash there. We can start to blend things together to create completely different, unique models or something. This could be half of a component and all. And now, if I wanted this to be half of a component, right? And I like the way that looks. Now I want one on the other side. Then I could create an all new level. Insert a new level. And on that new level, I could change that mirror mode to, let's get a copy of this. Let's right click and copy this and come into this level. And, well, let's do this. Duplicate. I don't know why I chose copy. We want to duplicate it. And then I can drag that duplicate up to this level 5. And then I could change the mirror mode. Instead of top to bottom, left to right, right to left, what have you. I can go right to left. And you'll see what the difference is in Aspire here in a moment. Let's pull this over. What is that funky looking flag? Hold on a second here. Let me get my mirroring. Like a goofball. I gotta rotate it. Gotta rotate it. I was like, why is it all in the same direction? Let's see here. We're going to mirror the mirror. So let's flip this horizontally. There we go. Uncle Chuck is doing something now. Let's get this back over here where it belongs. Stand by. Let me use my arrow keys to sneak her up on it. And I need to change my combine mode. My combine mode. Don't you be barking there in the background, doggy doggy. Alright. That's what I was going for. What in the world was I thinking? Now I can change my my mirror mode, my combine mode, to create something. I don't know if that looks like a Christmas bow or what, but it sure does look different. Let's go ahead and drag this over a little bit. Kind of blend that together some. On and on and on, right? So, you know, that's kind of funky looking, but you get the idea, right? So let's go ahead and let's see what would happen. Let's take these two copies here. We only see the 2. We don't see the 4 in here. So if we took these 2 copies here and I move them up to this corner, let's kind of drag that up here. And I probably should mirror this the other direction, but it doesn't matter. And if I change my mirror mode of this component level, if I change my mirror mode to my left quadrant, everything in that left quadrant will mirror around the all three, the remaining 3 quadrants. There's a word for that. You will see. Let me turn them back on. Turn that one on. Woo, what's that funkiness? And I'm going to drag this guy up in here as well. Turn him on. Turn me on and turn me on. And let's blend this together a little bit better. And let's drag this whole contraption here. Let's drag this, right about there. And let's look and see what we can create. Let's see, I need to move this over to the right. And down. Or not down, up, up, up. Oh, hold down the control key and do a micro move up. And we'll be right there a little bit more. A little bit more. Perfect. All right, let's turn that off. And so from that one model, making a copy of that model, we'll end up making, you know, something completely different. And then we can continue on and on and on. And I could make a whole lattice work of this model component stuff using mirror mode. Of course, I would want to move these in a way that I blend a little smoother here and things. So I would move things up and down or left and right to get rid of the seam a little bit better, you know, here and here. But nevertheless, you know, you can start to see a pattern emerge. But now let's take a look at, let's go ahead and turn, let's get rid of this level. Let's bring this flourish back down to here. And I'm going to get rid of this level. Bum, 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 bum. Hide that level for a moment. Awesome Blossom. And I'm going to turn off the mirror mode on this level here. So we got our component back. And let's turn on our other components. And let's see what we can make. So I'm going to set them up off the board for a minute. You will not see them once I drag them up and off the board. Let's turn on that third one. Let's bring this one up off the board for a moment. And let's focus our attention on this guy here. I like the way he looks. Now, on this guy here, this model, using it as my base, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate him 45 degrees. So I've got 3 individual models here. The other 2 are off the board, so you cannot see them in that 3D view. We only see the one model that we're working with. And we have no mirror mode turned on at this point, but we will in a moment. And then we're going to end up creating additional levels so we can combine these other items to come up with something unique and different. But the first thing I want to do is I want to rotate this particular model 45 degrees. 45 degrees. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag it over this center line, both not only on my vertical but also my horizontal and everything. And now I'd like everything in this top left quadrant here to be multiplied or mirrored around the other 3 quadrants. So all 4 quadrants will have the same model, but mirrored vertically and horizontally all the way around. So the first thing I'm going to do in my modeling tree here is I'm going to change my mirror mode to the top left quadrant, meaning everything in that top left quadrant will be mirrored around to the other remaining quadrants. And then what I'm going to do is I've got this little dimple of wood right here in the middle. So I'm going to hold my control key down and use my arrow key, and I'm going to bump over a little bit more, and come down a little bit more, a little bit more. We're getting there. We're getting there, and down a little bit until that disappears. All right. I'm also going to look at my seams and everything. And so let's turn that off for a minute. And now we've created this kind of petal-like flower. I guess it could be a petal-like flower. That's what it looks like to me, right? All right, so this is going to be our base component here. Now from here, I'll take my level 5 here, and I'm going to turn mirroring off. I do not want to mirror anything that's going to be on this level. And I'm going to delete this flourish that's on that level because I don't want that there. What I would like, I would like this little 4-prong petal flourish that's here. I would like that to be not mirrored. So I'm going to actually move that up to level 5, right? And I'll make it active, level 5 active again by turning it on. Turn me on. And then I'm going to drag that down. And what I'd like to do with this is in my alignment tools, I would like to center that model on my board. And then in my transform objects, I would like to rotate that piece 45 degrees. And click apply. Awesome. Now, what you have to understand about combination modes, combining modes, however you want to do it. Right now, this particular model that's on level 5, this flourish here, the combine mode is add. It is adding to whatever level is below it. Okay? When we combine, it's adding whatever level is below it. And so you can see that this 4-prong seashell petal flower, whatever you want to call it, we'll call it a flourish, that it is taking on the shape and the contour of the model that's below it. And we don't want that. We want to merge these 2 models together so they maintain their shape and contour and things, but they blend together. So I'm going to change the combine mode of this level from add to merge. Okay, now you can see it's kind of sunken down in there, right? It's riding low. It's basically blended both at the bottom of those models. It's taken merged the 2 high points. If you guys and girls, let's talk about merge modes for a moment. You have merge high and merge low. This is merge low here. Merging high and merging low means that we are merging the top level of the components at those levels, kind of the highest points to the highest points. And merging low means that we are merging at the lowest points, the bottom of those models, and we're combining them together. In this case, I want to merge high, and I need to build up some base material under my model to raise it up, to kind of bring it up above the component, the 2 components or the single component that's mirrored. I want to give it some base height, and in this case I'm going to go 0.15, bring that up a little bit. All right, now the red, when we see red and green, what we're seeing is red means that the component is selected, And green is showing me that there is a part of my component is hidden or obscured by another model. So if I deselected the model, you would see everything kind of blending together now. You wouldn't see that red and green, and you would see everything kind of blending together. Now with this, what I would like to do is scale this up. I've got my level 5 that has no mirroring. I'm working with my flourish here. I'm going to scale this up. I'm going to hold down my shift key. I'm going to grab this corner block and I'm going to scale it up to right about there. And notice how the because of the length of this model, here and here versus the distance from here to here and those diagonals, one is longer than the other. So what I'm looking at here is I'm going to size this back down until this, and my mouse, if you guys and girls can follow, until this is kind of blending right below this little lip right here. So I'm going to size it back down just ever so slightly. Let's come back down to right about there. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And ever so slightly more. Oh, just a little bit more, a little bit more. I want that red to not be up on that lip. There we go. Oh, just ever so slightly. But that'll change because I got to rotate a little bit more. Now, if you notice, if we look at, let's pull this over and let's rotate. Whoops. Don't do that. Don't be dragging your models around. Let's undo. Control Z as your best friend. If we rotate this a bit, the center of this petal here is not quite centered here. So I want to rotate a little bit more. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to freehand it. I'm going to crank this down ever so slightly. There we go. All right, so if we look at what we've got now, let's deselect everything. And if we look at our model, everything is merging and blending nicely together. We're creating something completely different. Let's get into a Z straight-on view. And so now from two separate models, I've got a very unique kind of, let's call it a medallion or rosette in a way. Not really a rosette, that's not the proper term. But I got this medallion that I could carve out, and you know, it could be an additional, it could be something glued to like the front of my dresser. If this was a large scale, it could be a centerpiece of headboard. It could be a ceiling medallion, you know, where my ceiling fan, this gets cut out, and my ceiling fan motor and all that stuff. So we have this. So far, we've got this little medallion-looking thing here blend together. And if we do a little bit of a tilt and a rotate, we can kind of get a all-around view of it. I think I'm good. I don't want to give myself any more base height. I think 0.15 will be a nice looking base height to combine that together. I want, because the two links are different from this diagonal to this diagonal, I want that difference. I like that, but I could, if I wanted to, I could stretch out the model in this diagonal direction to have all four of these petals all the way around touch and everything, but I don't want to distort or stretch the model. This is exactly what I want. And now I want to bring in component number 3. Now component number 3, if I were to bring it in to my level 4, that would be fine. Because I am going to mirror what's on in the top quadrant all the way around to the left, or I could create an entirely new level with a different mirroring method, whatever the case may be. But before I do anything on this model here, I want to basically let's take and rotate him straight up and down. Let's rotate him straight up and down. Let's go back into our drawing tools here and rotate. 45 degrees. And do I want the big guy. That this has two different pedals and all. I want the big guy at the top, so I'm just going to click apply and just bring it back around all the way around in that 45-degree increment. Nicely done. Now, of course, he was a little off skew. He wasn't exactly 45 degrees when I rotated him, so I'm going to get him centered back up. So my little cheat method here is to select him and align him left and right where he is, and look at my center line here, and see which way I need to rotate him to get him centered up a little bit better. Little bit. I could type in the degree, but I'm going to freehand it. That'll work. Okay, there we go. I just moved him. I didn't rotate him anymore. Now, what I'd like to do with him right now, currently, he is on level 4. He is mirrored, or, you know, if I were to bring him onto the board, he will be mirrored. Anything in that top left quadrant will be mirrored all the way around to the other 3 quadrants. And what I'd like to do is I would like to keep him separate, but create a different level for him. And I'd like to make a copy of him. So let's do that. Let's make a copy of him first. If I hold my control key down, when I double click on him, I can make a copy. And on this copy here, I would like to rotate that copy 90 degrees sideways. 90. All right. And let's go ahead with that. If we go back to our component tree, and let's close this tool so we're only looking at the component tree. Here are my 2 copies, 1 and 2. And what I'd like to do is I would like to drag this one down and position it right just about over that center line there. And I would like to bring that up one little bit. So I'm going to use my arrow keys and kind of sneak it up until those petals start to poke their heads up out of the top there. You can see them as I grow, as it regenerates itself. Let's drag it so you can actually see it regenerate itself. Let's pull this up to right about there. All right, to create these little petals. And what I'm looking at, more so than the actual petals up here at the top, what I'm looking at is this band here on the top and the bottom, because remember, this is being mirrored around 4 times. So there's 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 in each quadrant. And what I'm looking at is this band right here, this middle band of this model. And I would like to bring it up. I'm going to continue bringing it up until that band is hooked right underneath these openings of the model here. So let's go ahead and drag that up a little bit more. Oh, ever so close. So I'm going to bump it up with my arrow keys and golden. That is, let's go with a control up one little notch. There we go. All right, so now part of my model, if we look at this, the top part is getting cut off because the size of this component so far is bigger than the height of my box. We're going to fix that in just a moment, but before we do, let's go ahead and drag this model. Again, I'm still mirroring through all quadrants and everything. So I'm going to drag this one over, making sure that the majority of the model is in the top left quadrant. So I'm going to kind of drag this up and to the left a little bit more. Again, that band on both sides here, I want to drag it up ever so more. And from here, I'll sneak up on it by using my arrow keys on my keyboard. Just a small little, actually, I think that's good. Let's use a small bump. That'll be good there. Now let's turn off the selection so we can see what we've got going on here. The top and the bottom of my model are being cut off because of the model is exceeding my board limit. So let's go ahead and size this down a little bit. I'm going to select all of these components. And I'm going to size it down ever so much. I'm going to hold my control key or not my control key, but my shift key. And I'm going to size everything evenly. And when I do that, that's going to change where everything is positioned. So it's going to kind of throw things off and stuff. So I'm going to have to reposition here in a moment. Let's go ahead and size it down a little bit more. Hold on. We've got to freeze up because old Laney boy was holding down his shift and his control key at the same time. Multiplied it 100 times over. So let's undo that. Don't do what I did. Don't hold your control key. Control key is making copies. Hold your shift key down. I don't want to make copies. I want to size. Size. Wonderful. Now, by sizing, what we have to understand is we've moved everything off of its positioning, right? And you see how we've thrown off our model and everything is kind of thrown off because everything up here in this corner is getting mirrored around. So let's go ahead and get our positioning back where we need to be. And so with those selected, I'm going to drag this back down. Okay. And then what I'm looking at here, now keep in mind we've got our orange and green or our red and green, meaning that these components are selected, and then green is showing me that there's hidden parts of the component behind another one. So don't let the red and green confuse you and everything, because if I were to, deselect this, we can start to see how things are blending together. But what I want is, because of the sizing and all, right up here, I want to get this pedal here centered a little bit. So let's go ahead and reposition everything. So I'm going to bump this down and over. I could just use my centering tool like a goofball. I could just center. Let's do that. Let's go into alignment tool and center to material. There we go. Awesome. And I'm going to change my rotation ever so slightly. Oh, I overshot it. Let's go back a little bit. A little bit more. Not that much. So where a mouse, if you guys are using finger pads and everything, I'm not using a finger pad, but if you were, this is where mouses come in handy. There we go. Okay, let's turn off our selection in our component tree. Let's deselect everything and let's look at things for a moment. So what I'd like is I've got, so far everything is looking good to me. I do want to bring that size up on this guy here. I'm going to go into its properties on this middle flourish, the center flourish, and I am going to bring this back up a little bit. Let's go 0.17. Let's pop that up. I want that center part to be raised up some. Excellent. And everything is looking good there. All right, so on this one here, let's get back into a straight on Z view. On this guy here, what I'm looking at with him is, do I want to, on this band, I want to try to get rid of this kind of like where it starts to curve down. I want to kind of level that out. So this guy here needs to move over. Where they start to level out there. And then this guy here, because I'm working again in your top quadrant, so I'm moving it down because I want part of it to be down to get rid of. If you'll, let's see if I can move over to that, move, not there, move over there. This seam right here where this band is kind of starting to curve, I want to kind of level it out. So I need to bring this down to bring those components closer. Okay, and if we did it all correctly, we should look somewhat similar all the way around. Let's turn that off. So I need to bring it down just a slight bit more. Let's select him again and go back into that split view. Let's bring him down just a little bit more. Not that much, Lord of mercy. Hold the control key down and do some micro movements. Bring him back apart a little bit. All right, deselect him. Okay, so now in mirror mode, by mirroring these three components, I have created, think of like almost like a cross in a sense, right? You know, in a way. You know, a very decorative kind of center emblem, again, whether it be a piece of wall art, a rosette looking, and rosette's not the proper term, but, you know, a medallion type piece that would be, you know, cut out and attached to, you know, a project or something. If I were to stretch this a little bit, okay, stretching both sides. If I were to stretch it much more type of thing, you know, I could end up making a cross of sorts, right? You kind of get that, right? I'm going to undo that because I don't want to stretch it, but you know what I mean? By stretching that model, it's going to stretch all four parts and mirror them 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way around those quadrants and everything, and really I could do all kinds of neat stuff, but let's deselect it to get rid of that red and green so you can see what's going on. Now, so as this being as a model and everything here, I could copy, you know, these models, these two levels, and create two more levels of the similar type mirroring quality, and I could continue to go on and on and on all the way around and everything. Just completely just changing up the game, the way they combine and stuff. But if I move these models from this position, even though, you know, I have copies and everything, I'm not really, I'm kind of combining these new copies with the old copies. I'm not like making them one or anything like that. If I was happy with this, component, I could then, you know, bake it together as one, and I have a new component. But I don't get to save it. Once this, you know, I could save this project and open it and utilize it however I want. And what I mean by that, let me take, without confusing you guys, I'm going to delete these other these other levels here for a moment so they don't confuse you. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And let's get rid of this one. let's get rid of this one. Now on these levels, we can delete that level. You can't delete a level until there's no models on it and things, so I got to get rid of the models first. All right, so now on these two here, let's close our properties tool for that one. If I were to take these two items, I would want these three items here. I would want to be able to bake them together into one component. But unfortunately, I don't have the ability to bake. You know, so I could create other components from this one. You know, when I bake, it would bake all four of these, this whole mirror mode, not just what you're seeing on the screen. All you're seeing is four different models on the 2D view, but in the 3D view, those models are multiplied 4 times over, you know, for each of the quadrants. And I would love to be able to bake that together to create one model so I could mirror it again and again and again. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to bake them together in things. If I were to select them all, you know, I don't have that ability to bake. And that's where Aspire, this is the difference between Aspire and stuff. If I were doing this in Aspire, I could bake them together and create multiple more components from that. And what I mean by that, let's take these 3 models here and copy them. I'm going to copy them. It should let me... It should let me, let's see here, what size is my board? 20 by 11 and a quarter. If I were an Aspire, 20 by 11 and a quarter by 3/4. If I click OK, I'm going to work off the center so you guys can see the center lines on the board so you can understand where the quadrants are. But it doesn't matter if you're working off the bottom left corner, the bottom right, any of that stuff. Your quadrants are still your quadrants. Imagine that board being split down the middle. Now, if I were to paste these models in here, alright, it's not going to let me paste them. What if I... File save. Let me save this file first. Mirroring. Did I spell mirroring correctly? Save. Let it save this. Oh, you guys got some buffering. You got some buffering. Sorry about the buffering. Sorry about the buffering, guys. Sorry about that. Debbie, while we're loading this, if you guys can still hear me while we're buffering, Debbie asked, is there a video explaining the component tree and levels and how to work with them? Absolutely, there is. In the YouTube or not YouTube, sorry, in the Vectric library, there is a video dedicated to the component tree, for sure. You know, now hopefully this won't buffer too much while we do this. I don't want to work in Aspire because for too long, because it does create a lot of buffering. But hopefully it doesn't buffer too much, so bear with me. But if we were to look at the Aspire, and I'm going to split this view again, you know, we have that same model, right? Well, in Aspire, I have the ability to create a component from the visible model, meaning what I'm seeing in the 3D view. And so if I create a component from the visible model, you're going to see that visible model pop up on my screen in the 2D view. Okay? Now, not only have I created a brand new model that if I liked it, and let's turn off this selection here. Not only have I created a new model, that if I liked it for whatever reason, I could export that out as clip art and add it to my clip art gallery as a whole new model. So all those models that I have, I can make from them. I could make new models and grow my model database over and over 10 times fold, you know. That's one of the benefits of Aspire. But let's take this a step further. Now that I have this model, I'm going to turn off, or I'm not turn off, I'm sorry. Yeah, I will end up turning them off. But before I do, I'm going to create an entirely new level. And I'm going to turn off or drag this model that I've created, this visible model here, to that level, and then I'm going to hide my originals, all the models that are separated, and you're still going to see this model on the screen because it's a model by itself now. It's one component, meaning that if I turn mirror mode on and copy from left to right, right to left, whatever the case may be, or from all four quadrants, we can do all kinds of cool things with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go left to right first off. And I'm going to take this component and I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. And then, because I'm copying from left to right, I'm going to drag this component over to about here. Let's go. Let me get that component centered up and down. Okay. And so now I've got, let's take a little bit. Let's see which way I want to go with this. A little bit more. I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard and just kind of bump over a little bit. Not that far. I'm looking at the bottom because my bottom and my top are different. Right about there. All right. So now I have this component here. Again, from my visible model, I'm going to create a new level over here. Insert a new level, and I'm going to make that level active. Okay? And I'm going to take and I'm going to create in my modeling tools, create a component from the visible model over here. From the visible model. You'll see that pop up on my screen. Okay? And once again, I can turn the original off. Now I have the entirely different model. And if I were to turn on my mirror mode on this level from top to bottom. And let's drag this model up. Let's turn this forward here. And on this model here, let's I'll end up having to size it down. It's getting pretty big now, but let's bring this up a little bit. Or down a little, not up. Down, down, down. Right about there. Looks good. Let's deselect that. And now I've got a completely different looking model, right? This is all from 3 components, 3 models, all from 3 components. I've got now a beautiful little configuration. And again, if I were to take, this is where Aspire guys comes in. I want to get out of Aspire. I could take, and on this model, I could create a component from the visible model. Okay, and that's going to create that component that you see there. And I'm going to, again, let's put it on another level that doesn't have any mirroring, no mirroring at all. So we just have the component there. And if this was a model that I like, you know what, I'd actually use this in the future for blah, 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 whatever the case may be, I can export that model as an STL file if I was creating it, you know, for someone else or what have you. Or I could export it as a 3D clip art. And I could, when I export that as a clip art, I could add it to my tool database. Or not my tool database, but my clip art database. And I've just created a whole new model for my library. Now, you're going to get some buffering. And I'm going to go into my C drive. Users, public documents, Vectric files, clip art, and I'll create a new folder calling this custom. And in that custom, I will call this as a wall plaque and save that. Now, if I go into my clip art gallery, boy, this Aspire is really taxing on the my computer. Let's go into my model. Let's turn this model off, turn all these components off and everything. All right. So if I went into my clip art, you can see now I have a new folder called custom, and then I have my new wall plaque model there that I've added to my library that I can, you know, utilize in future projects and things. Okay, this is to show you, this is just showing you what we can do in Aspire. Okay, by being able to create those new components, and then ultimately end up, you know, creating a model. We can export it out and create a model, whether it's an STL file, whether it's a, you know, a clip art file, which is what we would use. But that's one of the things that Aspire allows us to do. And, you know, now I have some wall art or something that you know, I could carve out and all. So let's get out of Aspire. We don't want to work in Aspire right now. I just want to show you guys the same effects in Aspire and stuff. And let's go back to our wall art here. Now with this in VCarve Pro and Desktop, you know, I can work with these models and things. And I could, if I wanted to, somewhat simulate or change some things. I can't, unfortunately, I can't take this model that I've got here and mirror it around left to right or top to bottom or this or that. because these components are all individual. They're not baked together to make the one. If I could make this one cluster, then I could move that cluster into its own level and then mirror that cluster around again and again and again, doing whatever I need to do. So when we're working in desktop and pro, we just create our component and we cut our component. We save our project, and it is what it is. Now, let's talk. Now, this is just 3 separate components here, but let's take it a step further. Let's go ahead and turn off these components here, and let's go into our clip art and let's see what else we've got in our little library of things. So let's go down and grab I know I have a fleur-de-lis, right? Fleur-de-lis. And make sure whatever level you're working in that you whatever level's active, when you bring a model into your design, it's gonna put that model on that level. So level 5 for me has no mirroring, so I'm going to keep those 2 levels for those other 3 objects. So I'll just create a new level here, and I'll grab my fleur-de-lis and I'll put that in there. All right, so now on this guy here, on this fleur-de-lis, I'm going to rotate him or her. It could be a her. There's no sexism here. It could be a him or her. I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. Okay. And then I'm going to take that level that I'm in, and I'm going to mirror that. Okay. I could do the quadrant again, right? If I did, all 4 quadrants, I'd end up with some kind of this kind of spade-looking model here, right? Some kind of funky-looking little flower model, whatever that may be, right? And if I were to move him, the further apart I move into that top quadrant, and the further up I move that model in that top quadrant, that's going to make my flourish and everything look much more different, right? We can create all kinds of neat things with mirror mode. And so what I'd like these to look almost like little hearts. So I'm going to right about, let's see, do I want to go a little closer? That's almost like a little heart. Let's see here. I want to see which heart looks better. Right about there. And then the same thing, if I move this model up, I want those 2 side ones to look like little hearts. Okie dokie. All right. So let's get into kind of a full view here. Oh, got these little hearts going on. All right. So now that one component is mirrored 4 times through all the 3 quadrants. Anything in this top left quadrant is mirrored to the around. So on this model, let's come out here and let's take and make a copy of him. This guy here. We're going to make a copy. We're going to right click and copy is fine. And then right click and paste that model right on top of one another. And then I'm going to drag that copy over to the corner of the board here. Oh, we making something now. We making something. Right? All right. Now, let's go ahead and let's create a new level, because I want this other level to have a different type of mirroring or none at all. And let's go into our clip art and let's grab I want kind of a round medallion. Since we're talking hearts, right? We found a heart here. Let's drag this guy up and throw him right in the center of the mix. Okay. Now for him, I've got to change the way it combines, right? When we're in an add mode, you see how it's taken on the shape of that fleur-de-lis. In add mode, I don't want that. right? I want it to be merged with the component that's below it. And then I want to go into the properties and give it some base height. So it's kind of riding high. And of course, it's way too big right now. I want to size it down. And let's give it some more height. Now, base height means I'm building up the material underneath the bottom so it builds up the top. Okay, and let's go ahead, and I want it to cover all of this center area here, so let's pull that out a little bit. Hold your shift key down, not your control key, Laney. I'm holding my control key down. Let's undo that. Hold your shift key, shift key. I want to size it up. Okay. All right. So I don't need to size it up that thick. You know, you see how thick that is. I don't need to size it up that thick with base height, but I do want to give it some more shape height. I want that shape to be a little bit puffier. So let's reduce the base height ever so slightly. A little bit more. I just don't want the model underneath to poke through the top, right? So I can come down a little bit more. We'll go 3/16. There we go. And then on the shape height, I want to build the shape height up. This is the model itself. I want to kind of give it, you know, some heft and everything. All right, let's go ahead and get back into a full-on view. All right. And now I'm going to add a zero plane, a board, a backer, should I say, to this. So since this level is not mirrored or anything, and the combine mode is merge, I can go ahead and create my zero plane on that level. That'll be fine because it's going to merge with everything else. Nicely done. All right. Now, there's something missing on this wall panel here. What would be missing? Let's look at our clip art and let's see what else we've got here. I want something befitting. Okay. All right. Before I bring in that clip art, I'm going to create a new level with a different mirroring mode. So new level. And let's grab, do I want this one or this one? I want this one. We're going to grab him and I'm going to throw him up here. And I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Let's say it. There's no genitalia on this thing. So 90 degrees. Let's see here. Rotate it 90 degrees. The other direction. Keep going around. One more time. One more time. You rock. There we go. All right, let's move this over to here and size it down. I'm going to cross over my line ever so slightly here on this. And then I'm going to turn mirror mode on to that component level. For that component, we're going to mirror this. And since I'm already in the right quadrant up here, the top right quadrant, I'll go ahead and mirror it. Use that top right quadrant to mirror this around all four quadrants here. You smell what I'm cooking, guys? Huh? You see what I'm getting at? Right? Mirror mode is phenomenal for making some cool creative stuff, you know. If I want to, you know, let's say I don't know what this would be. You know, the Saints or whatever. You know, I could if I wanted to have Jill and John. You know, there's some text, some names over here, or if I wanted to do all kinds of neat things. But you're getting the picture, right? You getting the idea of the possibilities. Now, do I want to do if I have these two up here and here? Do I want two more right on the sides in those blank spaces? Sure, I do. So let's grab this. We'll actually stay on this level. We'll grab this guy here. Let me see here if he's going to be in the top right quadrant. Nope, I need to create a new level. And I'm going to duplicate this one and drag it up to that new level because it's going to get rotated and mirrored a little differently. So on that guy there, on that one, I'm going to drag him over and rotate him 90 degrees. Let's get back into my rotate tool. 90 off its center of him, 90 degrees. 90, 90. One more for good luck and measure. There we go. And then I'm going to drag that. Let's see here where I'm at. I got to look at my other components. Make sure I don't blend with my other components. Let's go to the right a little bit. That's good. And then in that modeling tab on that component, I will mirror that. Since I'm in the bottom right quadrant, right? I'll select the bottom right. There we go. Whoa. Sexiness. Okay. So, who wouldn't want something that pretty sitting on their wall? All right. You guys getting it? You getting component level mirror mode, what we can do? Now, of course, you know, you guys and girls that do have Aspire, we could literally save this or create a component from this preview right here. From this preview. We could turn that into a model in itself. I would turn the 0 plane off if I did that, or leave it on. But and then we could add that model to our clip art and keep building up our clip art gallery, and you know just be totally fun and creative and all kinds of things with that. So this is component level. Component is your component tree. And Debbie asked about a video. Is there a video talking about or explaining the component tree? Under the help menu in the video tutorial browser, if we were to open up the video tutorial browser, and let me drag that screen. Wherever it just went, it went hidden. It went hidden on me. Let's grab that screen over here. If we scroll down to the general topics, array and merge, nest, the clip art gallery, layer guide, tiling. Let me find where my component tree information is hiding. In-depth toolpath strategy. It's under model assembly. How to make clip art, vintage, order. nesting, toolpath, tool database, copy array tools, job setup. It's here. It's here. Unless they took it out. I don't think they would. It's on YouTube. I know it's on their channel on YouTube. Toolpath tiling. We got that. Vector textures. Raised panel. Importing vectors. Where in the world? All right, that's all right. No fear, never fear. Let's go here. YouTube.com. I know Vectric has the video on the component tree. I think it's in there, and let's go to their website too. Bear with me a second. Vectric.com. We'll start at their website first, and we'll go under support and tips and trick videos. And let's look at this video gallery. Okay, it's not in the tips and trick videos. So let's go to YouTube to the Vectric website. Hey, look at Laney's live right now. Vectric. And let's go to Vectric Ltd. And we're going to search component tree. Don't let me down, Vectric. I know you're there. All right, there it is. The component tree guide. Component tree. They actually got quite a few videos talking about the component tree. Introduction to components, but the component tree guide in this video, a detailed look at the component tree and all of the functions available within it. Okay. So on the Vectric, it's on the Vectric channel on YouTube. In their gallery of videos, you can search the gallery of videos for component tree. Yeah, component tree guide. That is correct, William. William's on. Johnny on it, boy. That's exactly right. Component tree guide. Wait, was there? Did you see component tree guide in the other videos? But I didn't. I thought it was in the regular gallery of videos. It might be. I might have overlooked it scanning over it. But that will tell you about the component tree. Because in the component tree, if we look at a component level, right? If we right click on it, we have all kinds of menus. So we can change the combination mode, the way one level combines with another. Now we have the new mirror mode, the way we can mirror components within our project. You can show only certain levels and turn off others if you wanted to. Within your preview, you can hide all the component tree, component levels within the tree. You can select certain components, insert new levels, rename them, delete them, on that component level. And then each model within those components, we have, we can bring them forward or move them back in our 2D view. So if we have models hidden behind models, we can change that. We can copy those models or duplicate them. We can group them together. We can do, delete, rename. We can show, hide. We can go into the properties of a model, right? Instead of going to that property tool, we can just right click on the model and open up properties of it. And then, of course, we can move models to different levels, for whatever reason and things. So there's a lot going on in the component tree and stuff, and how these components combine, and everything that we work with. And components are almost like layers for models. So the only thing we can't do with a component tree, within our component tree, is we can't lock a component, a level, so it can't be changed or altered in any way. We can't, associate a toolpath with a level. However, in the toolpaths, when we're creating a toolpath within the software, we can only machine components that are on a certain level, right? You know how when you're choosing your limit, your machining limits, I could either, carve all of these models within their model limits, within their edges. I can carve all of the material away, creating this kind of raised panel here. I can use selected vectors as boundaries, or I can use selected levels if I only want to machine certain items that are on a selected level. So in this case, if I were machining, let's say I just wanted to machine that center medallion, that would be my level 1, I believe. Yep, my level 1. And so if I just only wanted to machine what was on level 1, and I calculated that toolpath, it's only going to calculate for the model that's on that level. So we can work with our levels for a lot of different reasons, whether we're using them. Oh, wonderful. William found it in the 3D modeling section. I must have zoomed right past it on the component tree video. And so those items, and only the items that are on that level 1, will be machined. If I wanted to machine only the items that are on level, I forget what's on my levels here. Level 2 is the heart and the zero plane. Level 3 is the flourish. So the fleur de lis are the only thing being machined right now because they're the only things on level 1. Meaning that my center heart, if we were to look at this, let's close this tool. If I were to preview this cut, right? If I were to preview the selected toolpath, let me turn down my preview mode real quick. Let's toolpath simulation quality standard. And I'm not doing a rough cut. This is not a video on machining the toolpath. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if I were to preview this cut, look at rip around there. It's only going to machine what's on that level. Of course, now I don't have my models positioned properly. They're way down in the board and all that wonderful stuff. We need to position all that to clean it up. But I can select different levels of my machining, or all of it, blah blah blah. So levels, we can work with them within a toolpath, but we aren't necessarily associating them with a toolpath. So yeah. Now, of course, I don't need the zero plane in here. I just put the zero plane in to show the backer board. If I were carving this as a panel, just to kind of show you. If I were machining this, I would probably turn the zero plane off because it's kind of irrelevant. But I'm turning it on just so you guys can see a simulation of a panel. My board or what have you. But any questions? So yes, we have questions. So let's answer some questions here. So Debbie, in the William Edlin says in the component tree guide in the 3D modeling section of the video tutorials that it is there. Now I most likely browsed right over it. And if I go into the 3D modeling, 3D toolpaths, 3D assembly. Do I not have a 3D modeling video gallery? Probably because I'm in Pro. I don't see that gallery. I have a spire, then I probably would see that gallery. So let's do this. Let's open up a spire for a minute. And let me look at the video gallery. I think the video galleries are kind of different for each. If I go to Help, Viewed Video Tutorial Browser, I should have a section called 3D Modeling, which I do. And in that 3D Modeling gallery is the video on the component tree guide right here that will walk you through. But since I opened the gallery up in VCarve Pro, I cannot do 3D modeling, therefore the guide wasn't available. So I would have to go to the YouTube channel. Okay? I'd have to go to the YouTube channel. All right, so Debbie, hopefully that answers your question on that. Now, Dave Gatton has a question. Could someone with VCarve send the file to someone with Aspire and get them to save it as a new clip art model and send it back to you and put it in the clip art model library? Yes. They would save it as an STL, not as a clip art, because the file models, Dave, within VCarve Desktop and Pro, if we were to go into the my little clip art area here, let's go to the computer, C drive, Pro users, public documents, Vectric files, and clip art. Okay. So with Vectric files and stuff, we have two, and whether it's VCarve Desktop or Pro or Aspire, think of the Desktop and Pro kind of together, or Aspire. I can open any file type within Aspire, but I only am able to open up the 3D clip files and things, or V3M. We have different file types for the two components. So if they were going to send the file back to you, they would do it as an STL. So if for instance, if I said, okay, let's save this. If I save this as mirroring, if I save my work here as mirroring, and I sent the file to friend, family, or Lainey Shaughnessy, who does modeling for customers and stuff, and said, hey, could you make this a model for me? Let me save the work. Give it a second. Give it a second. It's almost done. I should have deleted the toolpath. That's what it's saving right now. There we go. All right. So if we minimize this, let's say I send that file called mirroring to a buddy of mine, or to have it turned into a model, and that person had Aspire. They could open the file, and let's go to our desktop, come down to mirroring. Let it load. Let it load. Okay. Now, let's go to our 3D view, right? Because remember, in the 2D view, you're only seeing the components, right? You're not seeing the mirrored objects. So don't let that go, oh my gosh, where'd all they go? They're right there in that 3D view. But now, within Aspire, I can take and create a component from the visible model that I see in the 3D view. Okay, I can turn off all the other models. We don't want them visible when we're saving them, right? Turn off all the other models, except for my copy of this model here. I want to create a new level that has no mirroring or no nothing, and I want to turn, put that single model in there now. And with this model, I can export it out. If I were sending it to someone with Pro or whatever, I would not export it out as 3D clip art, because only 3D clip art can be opened in Aspire. I would export it out as an STL. I would create that component. Let it triangulate it. Okay. And I would most likely let's turn that off for a minute. Let's turn off, if somebody were going to send a file, have them turn off the zero plane. So here, no, they don't have to turn it off. You can turn it off. Let me delete this, copy here, and let's go back in and let's turn all these back on. But we're going to leave the zero plane off. We don't want the zero plane. Leave the zero plane off. Okay? And we're going to create a component from the visible model. Oh, I'm missing a model. Bear with me a second. My little side guys here. There we go. We're going to create a component from the visible model. Awesome blossom. Now we can turn off all those other models. All the other levels, let's call it. We don't need them visible right now. And one more. Awesome. And now I can export that out. Model, export as an STL. Can triangulate it, because I'm going to be closing it off with a flat plane anyway. And save that model file as, we'll call this, I don't know, mirrored wall art, right? Awesome blossom. Now, as an STL, I can't. I'm about to answer my own question here. As an STL, I don't know if that can go into my clip art gallery. It should. It should. So if I emailed that, or if that person emailed that file back to me, and I'm back in Pro now, if I come in here and let's get back over to this side. First thing I want to do is I want to move this over to my component tree, not my component tree, but my gallery of files and all. So let's find that mirrored wall art right here, model, and let's go ahead and cut it from this location and go into this PC, C drive, users, public document, Vectric files, clip art, custom, and paste. Okay. And if I go into my clip art gallery here and I go to my I had to close, and I shouldn't have closed. I should have exited. I think I had to restart my Vectric. Let's look at my clip art layers here. Do you see the word custom hiding in there? No. I should have a custom folder. When I reopen my Vectric, it should show up. This is Aspire that you're looking at on the screen right now, guys. I'm opening up the VCard Pro. And if I create a new file, I'll just create a new file so we're not opening an existing one. And if I go to my clip art, custom folder right there, inside that custom folder, there's nothing. So it will not show an Aspire model. It will not show a STL. So what I have to do is instead of the clip art folder, I have to go to my local files folder. Okay. And we're going to go to, that's why you have local files. We're going to go to this PC, C drive, users, public documents, Vectric files, clip art, custom. Oh, you got to show me. It's not going to let me. It's not going to let me see it in the browser, unfortunately. So what I have to do is import it, guys. I've got to import it. File, import a model or component, and then I can bring the model in. So wherever I don't have to necessarily store it in that folder. As long as I have it on my computer, I can just import it in. I cannot see it in the clip art tab. That's only going to be V3M files or appropriate Vectric files if you have desktop and pro. But I can import the model into my project, and of course it is a third-party file, so we have to orientate it and size it and all that wonderful stuff. And there we go. So Dave, yes, they can. If you had somebody that had Aspire, you could create the mirror component and have them turn it into a model for you. It will not show up in the clip art gallery because it's not a Vectric V carve, whether it's desktop or pro type of file. It's an Aspire if they save it as clip art. They can export it out as an STL. And then in your Vectric software, you just have to import it in as an STL or OBJ, but as an STL, as a 3D model file. But yes, you can have a model made with someone with Aspire. You can do that, like we've done here. And then, of course, if I wanted to now re-add my zero plane back in, now that I've brought the model in, I could. But I don't need a zero plane. So yes, it's just we have to import that model that they create for us. We can't open it up. Now in Aspire, if we look at the clip art, custom clip art file, you see the wall plaque that I created as a 3D clip, that clip art file. But we don't see the STL because it's a third-party file. Even with Aspire, we would still have to import that model file because it is a third-party file. We won't see it in the clip art. But we would have to import it in just like we would in VCarve Pro and all. That's why generally as a model in Aspire, if I have Aspire and I'm creating models, I save it as a clip art, 3D clip. So it can show up in my gallery. So it does add to my gallery database and things. And so I can import that 3D model file in. You know what I mean? What you mean? And we still have to orientate it, size it, and all that wonderful stuff. And then, of course, it's going to combine with the other model, make everything much fatter because there's two of them in here now, so on and so forth, because I am in Aspire on that one. But no matter if it's Aspire or Pro or Desktop, we still have to, that third-party file, we have to import it in. When we save, if we have Aspire and we're saving one of these model panels and all, you will export it out of your Aspire as a 3D clip art. So it goes into your gallery and you have access through the clip art gallery down here. All right. Hopefully that was not too overlong drawn explanation, but the answer is yes, you can do that. You just have to import the model in as a third-party model. It will not show up the clipboard. Steven says, can you cut and add a section to a rope border model to make it longer without making it wider in Aspire? Yes, you can. So Steve is asking, in Aspire, if you guys ever worked with rope borders and stuff, let's turn this off here. If you've ever worked with rope borders, when you try to size a rope border, it stretches that model. So if we go and let's grab a border, ribbons, models, textures, objects, borders, and let's grab a rope border. Okay. Now, if I were to size the rope border, it's going to not only size it, but it's going to stretch it, right? It makes it not only wider, but it also makes it higher and thicker and things. And so it stretches that border. Well, what we can do is, if I were to take a rectangle, let's go here. If I were to draw a rectangle here, let's say I just want this section of rope. If I were to draw a rectangle there, and in Aspire I can select my rectangle and my rope, and I can remove everything outside of that boundary to get rid of those two ends. So now I have two straight edges. Okay. And since there's two straight edges, I can use them and add them to that border, top and bottom. Or if I want to do just one, right? If I just want one component, then on that rectangle, of course, I could come in here, and with that selected and that model selected, I could remove everything outside of that selected vector to get rid of that lower half. Now I have this rope model here, right, that I can plug in somewhere. Well, let's get my since I got rid of my rope border, I didn't make a copy like a goofball. Let's bring our rope border back in here. Okay. Now on this rope model, and I should have sized this sucker down before I cut it up like a goofball. We'll size this one up to make it match. Don't leave your models the proper size. Now, if I want to extend this out, make this a longer rectangle or a taller or whatever, I've got to slice the model. And that tool is right here. Split the selected component using a vector. So let's say that I take and draw a line down the middle. And let's move this rope here out of the way. Don't want to split it. If I come in and select that line and my model, I can split it. To split a component, select a single component. Oh, I got two components selected. Don't select both of them, just one. I was like, what? Okay. So now I could come in, and I would want to split it to where my ends would actually blend and match, but that's what we have merge mode for. So I could take that and I could, move that out. Split that model up here. The arrow keys are a little slow, so I'm going to hold my alternate key down to keep it on its plane, but I'm going to move it sideways there. And I could take and bring this up into place. Let me size this guy down. He's not the right size. Let me size him down. And I want to get the model to blend right on this side. And then over here, I'm going to move this model till he blends. Bear with me. I'm sneaking up on it. Sneaking up on it. Sneaking up on it. A little bit more. That's good. All right. So if we look at our 3D view, now we need them to, right now they're merging or are added, one's added to another, right? It's an add mode and all that stuff. It's add. We want to merge. So we want to change our combine mode from add to merge. Merge. Okay. And we'll merge him as well. All right. And then with that merged, then of course I would want to slide my components over until they merge perfectly. Let's go over this way a little bit more. All right. Now you're going to see a little bit of a discrepancy here. You would not see that if I would have had this model that before I trimmed it and everything, if I would have had it sized, if I would not have sized it larger than my actual border, then everything would blend together and all. But that would be how you could do it in Aspire. So the answer is yes, you can. Yes, you can. Steven, Brennan, you absolutely can. But before, when you're making this piece here, when you're slicing, not slicing, but removing to create this section, don't size it up, don't scale it up. Bring that model in and create it off of that original model. Don't scale your model up to create this straight line component, or else it'll be hard to kind of get them to match. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand what I mean by that? Don't by not sizing it up. Remember I scaled it to show how it stretches the rope, and I didn't bring it back to its original size before I cut the little link out of it, But now something you guys, which is unrelated to the mirror mode and all that stuff, but something you guys, well, I mean, not necessarily unrelated to the mirror mode. Let's zoom this out, right? Let's delete this. Okay. Now, let's say, for instance, I'm not sure where this would come into play, right? But let's play around since we're talking about mirror mode. If I mirrored this, okay, that half, let's say I cut off one end and I mirrored this, I could, get it to completely mirror all the way around. But if I were to take this guy, let me move him up into this component. Let's split the view, see what we're doing here. Let's get this. Oh, not that far. Yep. You know what I mean, Bean? We could mirror and do all kinds of things, but that's not what I was going to show you. Just wanted to let you know. I wanted to tie it back into mirror mode, but let me show you this. What that split, for you guys and girls that have it, Aspire, what that split model does, or one way that we could use it is, let's imagine, let me grab this horse here as an example, and let's whoa, I forgot mirror mode was still turned on. That's the 4 horsemen. All right, let's turn mirror mode off. That would be unique in itself. We're going to get rid of the rope for a minute since that answers Steve's question. I want to talk about the split toolpath here for a minute, or split model. Let's say that, I had my model here, but, I'd like to have it to where like this horse is almost bowing in a sense, or his head was down instead of sticking straight out like that. One of the things that I could do is let's draw a curve for a minute. Let's start at the base of his neck here. And we'll go where do I want to go with this hair? That's all right. I'll leave his hair there. All right. So if I have a model and I have a single vector, let's get out in our normal selection mode here. And I have a single vector. I've got my model selected and I split that model on that vector. Okay. Then what that allows me to do is now I can take the component that was created, where it was cut loose and all, and I could rotate. Let's go rotate, and let's move my pivot point up to here. And let's rotate and bring his head down a little bit. And let's bring his neck out a little. Now, on the area that, I have a spire, so I can add sculpting. I can add material in here. I can cut part of this hair and I can make a copy of it there to fill in that gap and all. But if I wanted, to, change the rotation or the head position or something, then I can split that model. We have the ability to split a model, and alter it in some way. That's what the split model does. So I can split and alter, I can change and adjust things. Now, of course, with tilting it, I need to fill in the main area, right? This is where you wish you had Photoshop and a little bit of creative action and all, but that's not a problem. Not for old Aspire. I could come in here and bake these two components together as one. Open up my sculpting tool. Click on the deposit material option here. And let's kind of zoom. Let me twiddle. When you're twiddling your view, guys, that means you're zooming in, zooming out, moving around, all that stuff. So twiddling our view. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the smudge or the smooth tool, and I'm going to kind of smooth off that little, that's too much power on the smooth. Bear with me a second. Let me discard that. Let's turn that smoothing down a little bit, and the diameter down a little bit. And I can start to kind of blend that together, get rid of that, that crease and all. And then on the deposit material, I can start to kind of let's turn the deposit material up. Start to build this up a little bit. And I need some model material behind it to really deposit, but let's see if we can bring some of this over. So yep, before I can deposit it, bear with me a second. Let's click OK, and let me fill in this void real quick. Very simple little, we'll draw a line, and I'll go from here to here to here. I'll smooth this out in a moment. Node editing. Let's pull that over there and smooth that a little bit. And then let's kind of give this kind of like he's got a little spike going on. We'll get rid of it, you know. All right. Now with that, I would create a shape. I don't know how we got onto this versus that, but that's fine. With this, I got a little bit of a loop right here. Let's get rid of that. Delete that point. There we go. And with the create shape tool, I'm going to create a little bit of a curve shape. Not much. We'll go 30 degrees and no limit, no base height, because I'll do that with the deposit tool to kind of just, all I'm trying to do is build in that area a bit. Okay. I want this to merge with the other model. And we will give it a little bit more shape. Let's go 80 degrees. Apply. Okay, just filling it in. All right, now I'm going to take and make that component part of the horse. I'm not the best sculptor in the world, but you guys are getting the gist of the jest. All right. And I'm going to open up my sculpting tool. And we'll do a little bit of smudging. Pulling that out a little bit. And let's see how we did here. Let's keep that. Let's twiddle our view. Twiddle your view when you're moving around here. All right. Not too shabby. Let's deposit a little bit of material here. All right. So. Oh, dadgummit, did I just discard all of that stuff? Hold on a second. Don't do what I just did. Hit OK. Don't hit discard. Lord have mercy. All right, one more time. Let's smudge. Jeez Louise. And then deposit. Do a little bit of smoothing on that. All right, keep. And then click OK. Don't click cancel. All right. So I was able to split that model, turn his head down, fill in the little gap area and stuff. And that's what the split tool, if you've never used the split tool, you know, it allows you to split a component along whatever vector you draw, and then adjust or move or stretch or what have you on that component stuff. All right, so that's the split tool. All right, any other questions? Hopefully that was informative, because we got off of mirroring mode, but that's good. That's what the Q&A part of the section is for. All right, and just for kicks and giggles, we're going to mirror him 4 times. Holy camole, look at that. We got a stampede. All right. Anyway, I don't want that to be my my luck, that'll be my preview in my thumbnail on my video. So let's let's turn that off. Let's get rid of that. And let's turn back on our ball art. Get rid of those vectors that I got drawn there. All right. And if I leave this screen up long enough, that'll be my thumbnail. All right. Thanks, Dave. Hopefully that was informative and everything. That is what, if you've never used the split tool, if you guys and girls do have a Spire and you never use the split tool, that's what it's for. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is not available. We don't have the ability to split models or sculpt models or anything within Desktop or Pro. We can slice a model. We can scale the Z height of a model. We can smooth it out. But we can't, those tools that you saw me using a moment ago, the split tool, the sculpting tool and things, those are only tools that are available in the Aspire software. And, if you're ever curious as to, or if you're ever wondering, if you're on the fence, should I say, if you're growing, your skills are growing, and so are your projects and your project designs and things, and you want to kind of take it to that next level, and you're on the fence as to, is the upgrade, is it worth it? Is it worth that $1,300 upgrade? As far as my personal opinion, not as a salesperson, not anything like that, just as a user, as a creator, as a carver, yes, because I have the ability to make money with my CNC. If it's a hobby, or something, then that might be a little hard to swallow, right? It's hard to swallow, that $1,300 and stuff. But if it's a small business or you are selling your projects and things like that, let that machine pay for itself. Let it pay for its upgrades and stuff. And if you're ever on the fence about updating or upgrading to Aspire, is it worth it and all? You have so much versatility within the software. The opinion is yes, my opinion. But don't break the bank. Don't put yourself in the poorhouse, any of that stuff. If the finances are there, unleash your unlimited potential, by giving yourself more versatility and tools to work with. We're all about the tools. We're woodworkers. The tools that we have give us the ability. I can build a lot of wonderful things with a hammer and a nail. Hammer and nails, plural. I don't know how much I could build with one nail, but hammer and nails. You give me a skill saw, then I can cut things to size much easier and stuff, and work with and build from there. If you give me a nail gun, then I can be a little bit faster in my production. If you give me a chop saw, then my angles could be a little bit tighter, type of thing. Whatever the case may be, our tools, the tools we use, help us improve our work abilities and stuff, and Aspire is a tool. That's the only way I can put it. All right, any other questions? Now, sorry about that little soapbox thing. I just wanted to kind of, if any of you are ever, hey, is it worth it? It is. It really is. Especially if you're using this to make money with. You want to come up with some creative, cool things and be able to, versatility and stuff. A lot of neat things. All right. Countdown to 9:20. But really, no matter if you have Desktop Pro or Aspire, play with mirror mode, have some fun with it, and do some cool and awesome things. Mirror mode can be fun and creative. It doesn't have to, it's not necessarily have to be with the decorative. I like using the decorative shapes to create objects and things. But there are so many other things that we could, utilize with the mirror mode or what have you. I'll give an example, a skull, right? All right. Raw. I don't know where this is leading, but he's a funky looking skull. Let's go into our modeling component level, and let's mirror him left to right. And let's bring him over our center line. Now notice I'm working in the bottom left corner, so you have to visually know your center line. This is where the split view screen works out well, working in split view so you can see what you're doing and stuff. Let's move him over and rotate him ever so little bit. Let's bring it out a little. I want to separate the eyes. The eyes have it. No. All right. Let's rotate. But, you know, if it's Halloween and you want to make a heart-shaped skull box, right? You know what I mean. You get the idea. You know, mirror mode can be fun. You know, depending on what it is that you're doing, and you know, I could literally, you know, having this mirrored in different directions. I could use a model to create different shapes. You know, I might be using the skull, but I'm wanting this river type looking puddle, whatever it may be, which I don't know what that would be, but you understand what I mean. We can be really creative. That almost looks like two jack-o'-lanterns on top of each other, right? But you get it, right? So have some fun with mirror mode, create some cool stuff, and go from there. All right, now once again, let me turn back on my wall art. I'm you know, I'm all about that thumbnail. If I can get the right view in there, I'll have a decent looking thumbnail, and people go, "Ooh, what's that? How do you make that?" All right, so let's see here. See you in the weekend, weather permitting. Yes, I look forward to seeing any of you guys and girls that are coming out to see us in Kansas City this weekend, or any of the shows. Definitely come out. Hey, Jeff, welcome. Thanks for attending. Hopefully you were able to pick up something, you know, some information and stuff, and find it useful. And everybody, I hope you can, you know, you found something useful here, because it's all about teaching you or showing you things that you may not just explore on your own. And I do recommend exploring on your own and looking at all the different tools and really exploring what you know, how to utilize them. And for you guys and girls that are, you know, working still with maybe Vectric 8 or 8.5, and you're wondering, you know, if I have desktop, should I pay the $90 to move up to 9.5? There was a lot of tools and a lot of functionality that was, you know, provided in the newer versions. And I'm a big advocate of keeping your software up to date. So keep that in mind. Now, this mirror mode, for those of you that are working or in earlier versions, 7, 8, 8.5, mirror mode was not available until 9 and 9.5. So keep that in mind. If you're wondering, how do I do that? Why can't I find the mirror mode and all, and you are working in an older version, it's because it was not it was just new with the newer versions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, it's 9:25, so we'll give it to 9:30, and then we'll call it a night. Next few minutes, if you got any questions, now would be the time. This is the perfect opportunity for any of you that are watching these channels to ask questions and get answers. That's what it's all about. Not only learning about what we're talking about in the class, but just asking questions in general. If you ran into an obstacle, or you got stuck, or not sure how to do this or that, take opportunities during these live classes to ask the question and get the answer. So thank you again, David, for attending. Hopefully you know, David, hopefully you have something you can take over to your neck of the woods and on your channel and stuff, and show out and everything. It's wonderful to spread the information and stuff. So play around with mirror mode and show your guys and girls and your viewers and subscribers what all they can do in the Vectric software. Donnie, Kansas City, the show. We're at in Kansas City. In Kansas City, we're going to be located. The show is going to be located, should I say, not we, everybody, all the attendees of the show, but it's going to be at the Kansas City KCI Expo Center in Kansas City, Missouri. That's on Northwest Ambassador Drive and everything. You can go to thewoodworkingshows.com, look at their schedule, and look at their, it'll show you the location and directions and things. You can buy your tickets and stuff online if you want. We're going to be in there at the KCI Expo Center in Kansas City, Missouri on Ambassador Drive. And that will be January 18th through the 20th, this coming weekend. Yeah, Dave, I would love to come back on. It helps keep me relevant. Right now, I've been away from YouTube for a while, so I'm becoming a little more and more irrelevant in my woodworking and all that stuff. But in the CNC, my channel's building up slowly. We're about to hit 1,000 subscribers soon, so thank you all for subscribing to the channel. But yeah, Dave, man, I'd love to be on. It helps keep me relevant in the woodworking world. So anytime, buddy. Anytime. Chuck, yeah, man, Chuck, it is interesting to see what you can do with mirror mode and things. And just to, with this particular one, we have a fleur-de-lis, we have a heart shaped wall art component, we have our little fleur-de-lis. So we got 4 different models that we're able to utilize to create this one component and mirror it around to create all that. So it's neat stuff. Yeah, David, yeah. Imagination, it's all about that and helping stretch it out or kind of think outside the box, right? Mirror that imagination a bit. Can you see I'm going with the mirror tone tonight? I love mirror mode. I was so glad when they came out with it and just the things that you could do. Because now I have Aspire, so, Aspire comes with 1,500 models. But taking that 1,500 models and being able to create new models from them and then save and export them out to build that database up and, it just makes the imagination run wild and you can, create those components and stuff. So it's pretty cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like there are no additional questions. Oh, wait, hold on. Kevin Wilkerson, I passed Kevin Wilkerson's. Kevin Wilkerson said, adding a tapered ball nose to the tool database. Kevin, in your tool database, okay, a tapered ball nose is a regular bit that falls within the database's categories. It's not a form tool where we have to draw the profile or anything. So in your tool database, click on Imperial Tools or whatever category you're going to drop this ball nose bit into and click on New and then choose Tapered Ball Nose. In the tapered ball nose, you need to know the diameter of the shank, not the tip, the diameter of the shank. You need to know the angle of that taper, the tip radius. So if I'm using an 1/8 inch tapered ball nose, that is a 1/16 inch radius. Your pass depth generally is going to be around a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch for an 1/8 inch ball nose. Your step over, I like a tight step over. You can adjust it to anything you want, but as a default, 8% step over with a 20% clearance step over is a good way to go. Really clean cut, little bit of sanding that there is needed. Little sanding is needed, not little bit of. Little sanding is needed because of the cut is pretty clean right off the carving. For that 1/8 inch ball nose, we're probably going to be around about 22.5, 22,500 if you do have a spindle. If you have a router and you're turning it on the dial on your router 1 through 6, you'd probably be about 5 on the dial. And we'd be running that 1/8 inch ball nose around 50 inches a minute, plunging around 20. But again, feed rates and plunge rates is based on you, how fast you want to run and things. And it's also based on the ability of your machine. And also the cut quality. If we're going too fast and the bit cannot remove the material, quick enough to keep up with that feed rate, then we're going to get a poor quality cut. So we want to kind of make sure that our feed rate is suitable for the tool and the material that we're carving in. So that's how you would add a tapered ball nose. And then, of course, after you get those parameters in, click Apply, and you'll be good to go. It'll add it to your tool database, and you'll be all set. All right, so sorry, Kevin, I didn't mean to pass that one up. If I missed any other questions, guys and girls, give me a holler or a shout out. Say, hey, you missed my question or anything. I thought I caught them all. All right. Okay, I'm going to put in my outro, guys, and we're going to say goodnight. So until next time, I'll see you soon. I want to thank you for joining us tonight on Spindle TV, your best source for CNC CAD/CAM training videos. If you're watching Spindle TV on YouTube, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. You can find out more information about our training and products by visiting us at www.digitalwoodcarver.com.